What's up, guys, and welcome to Press A repeatedly. Justin Tomasello here with Chris Gold.
Hello, everybody.
And Butch Caramano is here.
Hello, gentlemen. How's everybody doing today?
Doing good, man. Good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, welcome, buddy, and welcome back to being one of our first guests in quite a while.
Yeah, it has been quite a dry spell for you guys. It's good, though. It's good to hear just you guys going.
Oh, we appreciate that, but every now and then it's really nice to have a guest on the show. Justin, could I have a word with you real quick? Why is Butch
It
in
sounded
particular
like he
on the
said
show? Listen,
we were both.
Hey, guys.
you didn't run this past me first, and I just
Guys, I'm over here.
Yeah, you know, let's deal with this later, okay?
okay, fine. Just fix it in post, okay?
Okay, fine.
Butch, we're always happy to have you here, and you are always welcome on the show.
I feel so honored.
No, it's a pleasure. And, you know, today we got a lot to get to. Our main topic for the episode is going to be some generic gaming lifestyle questions. Now, I know that's a terrible name. What does it even mean? Basically, Chris, Butch, and myself have grown up playing a lot of video games our entire lives. I mean, we're 30 now, like 30 years of game playing. Ugh. And, you know, I'm just going to ask them a bunch of generic questions about growing up playing games. Really, not much more than that.
I feel every single one of those years. And it's been a long, winding road. And I guess it'll be interesting because, I mean, every gamer has their own individual path they take to 30, I guess, or wherever it is they are in life. And it's just, I guess, kind of interesting to see, like, where we got our start and how different it is. Because, I mean, at this point, we're all gamers. But how did we actually get into this fun, sometimes expensive hobby of ours?
I'd say a lot more than sometime.
True, but still, it's something that we feel is worth exploring a little bit, so explore we shall.
Hear, hear.
Chris, I believe, after the success of last week's email, we got another one.
Yes, we did get an email this week.
Emails.
This time, we got an email from our good friend SWOOOOL Edwards. SWOOOOL, of course, has been on the show before. He is asking us once again regarding it's sort of tangentially related to our games journalism discussion in the past. All right, so SWOOOOL begins. Yo. So I know you guys are probably tired of discussing the whole gaming journalism leaks thing, but this past week I was reminded of one of Justin's arguments for his side that, quote, journalists are gamers and they should want to respect the developers they love, unquote. While it has nothing to do with the leaks debate, still Team Chris, thank you, SWOOOOL, I'm curious what your opinions are on that statement. Should journalists be good at games? Should journalists even like games? Do you have to love the medium you represent and report on? I ask this because of this video of a games journalist, Dean Takahashi, a veteran of over 20 years, play Cuphead worse than anything I've ever seen before. SWOOOOL includes a link to the video in question. You don't have to watch the whole video, SWOOOOL continues, but only up until about a minute 35 to see him barely escape the tutorial. He then goes on to die over 30 times in the first level for the rest of the 20 or so minutes. Now, I'm not here to shame Mr. Takahashi or say I could do it better, but come on, I could totally do this better. Anybody could, he says. I understand it was his first time playing, but basic stuff like jumping and platforming mechanics that have been around since the infancy of video games is something a 20-year veteran should know. I also know everyone has different skill levels and not everyone can be amazing at games no matter how hard they try, but I think if you're reporting on the subject, you should at least be competent. What if we never saw any of this footage of this guy being terrible at the game, said Cuphead sucked or was too hard or whatever and gave it a low score? Just because he sucks at video games, is that really a fair assessment? Just curious what your guys' take on this issue is. Thanks, and keep up the good work on the PCast. Alright, so thank you, SWOOOOL, for that email. If you would like to email us any questions or comments, parpodcast@gmail.com. Butch, I'm going to start with you since you're guesting on the show. What are your initial thoughts on SWOOOOL's question there?
Well, I mean, to me, it's just like any other medium. just because somebody isn't, a world-class artist doesn't mean they can't be a critic of art. But it also comes back to if he is good at it, can he take his abilities out of the equation while reviewing the game? Is he conscious enough to know that he just sucks at video games? Like, if you're going to give the thing a bad review just because of how you perform and you know that you're bad, that's not right. But it's just like a world-class artist and a world-class art critic. The critic can't paint as well as a world-class artist, obviously, but he can still critique the work. It's all about taking himself out of the equation. And I've never read any of the guy's reviews or anything like that, so I don't know if he's good at doing that. But I think it's possible for it to work.
Now, earlier today, actually, Dean Takahashi published an article in response to a lot of the controversy, because this has kind of been swirling around the internet all week regarding his lack of ability in playing Cuphead, and the furious, really overreaction the internet had to the video, I feel. And yes, I know.
Foreign concept to it.
Yes, I know. It's incredible. But he defended himself in saying that the video wasn't necessarily supposed to actually be a preview or a review of the game itself. It was literally a video that was supposed to, I suppose, entertain anyone who was watching and seeing like, oh, here's a guy covering games who is actually pretty bad at video games playing this video game poorly. People were supposed to kind of laugh with the video, but it turned out they wound up laughing at it. Now,
so it was almost more like a satire, kind of.
Essentially. Now,
which I totally get, because I noticed that a lot of video game journalists think it's kind of like funny or something to say that they're bad at video games or that they're, just objectively poor at playing them. Yeah, Chris, for example, you yourself have said multiple times on this podcast that you think you're bad at video games, and I've known you forever, and you're not bad at video games. You're pretty good. You've beaten plenty of video games. It's
right.
like this weird.
It's my shtick.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
it's called self-deprecating humor.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is. I don't necessarily completely understand it, but a lot of you can look at stuff at like Game Grumps or whoever, who've made a career of like playing games poorly, So maybe he thought, okay, this is really funny, the fact that I'm dying a whole bunch and I'm doing really bad, and I'm gonna post this online. But there's really like two ways to look at this email. Like, for example, I didn't know anything about this whole story of how this blew out of proportion. I read Zool's email, and I thought basically, Zool was watching a video online. He saw this guy that sucked. He sent us the video, and he wrote the email. But no, it's so much more than that. In fact, it's even bleeding into this whole Gamergate situation where a lot of people are angry against the video game journalism, and like it's blowing into this huge, like, just unwarranted controversy. And the whole thing's really getting out of hand to the point where a lot of it's ridiculous, and I kind of refuse to comment on that stuff, but I will answer Zool's question of what if we never saw any of this footage of this guy being terrible at the game, and then he said it sucked or it was too hard, and then he reviewed it and gave it a low score. I would like to think that this guy wouldn't review this game if he was bad at it. Again, as you mentioned, Chris, he kind of posted this video as like a fun thing that, he thought was funny. He was playing it at Gamescom, which is a convention, which is probably not a great environment to even play a game in the first place. And, he brought it into the studio and I thought, hey, wow, look at how bad I did. Let's post this online. People will laugh at it, and it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. And, I think that you don't necessarily have to be good at video games to have a strong opinion on them, because there's so much more to a game than just playing it well. There's the music, there's the art direction, there's the story, there's the character development. Like, people can appreciate this sort of thing, to Butch's point, that a lot of other mediums kind of do the same thing, where an art can speak to you in certain different ways. So, of course, anybody is entitled to basically give their opinion of how, how they felt playing this game, what they liked about it, and what they didn't. And to prevent someone from talking about a game just because they're bad at playing it seems like a bit unfair.
There's a lot of different variables during a game that can inform one's opinion about the game. And, honestly, like, it's not very fair to say that, because you're not good at a game doesn't mean that you can't really comment on the game itself. I mean, games they're built and designed for everyone to play. And even if a gamer, even if a supposed really good gamer who's just good at all video games, they might have a different perspective on video games that might be harder or easier for a more casual game player.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, I do agree that it was a little shocking, how bad he was. I mean, that intro where he can't even get out of this tutorial and he clearly just has to jump on a platform and jump over it. And the fact that he just couldn't figure that out was a little bit, alarming. But he also said that platformers are not his type of game at all. And can totally sympathize with that because I suck at first-person shooters. If I posted a video of me playing Call of Duty 5, right, it would be me taking 2 steps and getting a bullet in my head 1,000 times. It's a lot more of what kind of games that you enjoy to play that you're not going to be good at every single type of game that's out there.
To Zool's point about, I guess, the lack of skill of a reviewer in terms of they just aren't good at a game and potentially giving it a bad score. There actually is a very famous case study of that exact thing happening in video games. And that, of course, is IGN's review of the game God Hand back when that came out in 2006. God Hand is God Hand was Clover Studios' last game, and it was a fine game. It was a brawler. And IGN's reviewer just was not good at the game, and he perceived the issues as being the game's fault and not his. So he wound up giving the game a 3 out of 10 when other outlets were giving it 6s, 7s, which, I mean, it's not stellar, but it's solid. That's a solid game.
Yeah, but also whoever goes by only one person's review of a game. That's why sites like Metacritic exist, where they kind of compile everybody's review and get an average score. And that is something that you should be going by when you're looking for a review of a game, because just for that reason, different people play different games, different styles, different ways. So you can never kind of isolate just one person and get their impressions of a game and think, oh, that's exactly how I will feel if I play that game.
To that guy, he's a prime example of somebody who can't do that job properly. He should have recognized immediately that it's him, not the game. I mean, I can see why he wouldn't give it an amazing score after that, but at least try to take into account your own personal skill level and take yourself out of the equation.
Right, or at least hand the review responsibilities off to somebody else.
Somebody more capable. He's not impartial. He's going to be very biased the way he thinks.
Yeah.
So basically what they're coming down to is, if I don't like the game, then it's not getting a good rating. Whereas I've played plenty of games that I've either not liked or have not been good at, and I still tell people, it's a good game, it's just not for me.
Right, and I mean, we all have games like that where they're considered really, really well done or some of the best games in the industry, but they're just games that didn't really excite us. Me, I guess my most prominent example is the Metal Gear Solid series. I know those games are very highly acclaimed. I know most everybody out there loves them. They just never really did anything for me. They just never clicked. So, I mean, that doesn't make it a bad series. It's just that it's not something that I can really speak to. If someone were to ask me, if a new Metal Gear Solid game were coming out, if someone were to ask me, should I get it? I couldn't give them a good informed opinion on that.
Yeah. But I'm glad Zool asked us that. In fact, it's a really interesting question, and it could even be the topic of a whole episode. I feel like it's, especially now with how that, like, unfairly it blew up in, in the internet news right now.
Yeah. Mostly, I just can't wait to get my own hands on Cuphead and just explore that game for myself.
Yeah, can we say for a minute how awesome that looks? Even like, I've been waiting for this game for a very long time, and to see like the beginning tutorial and first level like got me really pumped up, and I can't believe it's finally coming out this month.
This was one of your top 5 most anticipated games this year.
Yes, it was, way back in episode 1.
All right, so Zool, thank you so much for the email. Definitely a lot of food for thought there. Again, if you have any questions or comments for us, you can email them to us at parpodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks, Zool.
All right, so I think we should just roll right along. Butch, what are you playing?
What are you playing?
Let's see. It's not too long of a list anymore. I've actually been playing Overwatch's new competitive season just started last week, 2 weeks ago. So I've been trying to play that and getting frustrated.
Now, they made changes to the season this year. Isn't it shorter? Or
yes, they reduced it from 3 months, I believe, to 2.
As a total outside or a noob on the outside, can you guys briefly explain what exactly a season is in Overwatch?
Yeah, basically what it is every 2 months, or well, it was 3 months, every 2 months now, the leaderboards, like the top players, the rankings of them, they get wiped completely. And everybody starts from a clean slate again. So basically it gives everybody a chance every 2 months to try to climb the ladder. And you get assigned however many wins and losses and how many games you win and lose. You get what's called an SR rating, a season rank number. And once you get to certain levels, like I ranked in gold. And then you can get into platinum, diamond, I believe they do have diamond. And then there's master and grandmaster.
Wow.
And yeah, and like if you get into the top 500 people using a certain hero, like you have the top 500 stats of a hero, you get like a special emblem, and it has like what rank you are in that hero above it, and it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
And it drives the competitive nature of it, and it gives it a nice new fresh start every 2 months to entice players to come back and all.
Yeah, I would imagine that if they just kept it going forever, that whoever is currently number 1 would just stay there for like a very long time.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, there'd be an elite group, and they would do everything in their power to stay there.
Yeah.
And also, it gives them a chance to roll back and implement like big character changes. Because, I mean, halfway through a season, everything's already been kind of going. So they don't want to like, oh, okay, now Junkrat all of a sudden does way more damage. Well, now it's going to screw up. Yeah, it's going to screw up the whole season because now
with everything.
The end game's going to be all different. And so basically those 2 months is when they roll out their big patches, too. Like they just patched that. Funny, I said Junkrat. Junkrat just got patched right before this season started. He's a lot stronger now. And so did Roadhog.
Right. They made a lot of changes to a few different characters. I know Diva got a couple upgrades. Mercy got a huge overhaul.
Well, they're not implemented yet. They're on the public test realm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not being implemented until the end of this season, I believe. Because they didn't feel that they were ready for launch. Mercy they broke that character even worse than she already was. Like, for anybody who doesn't know, Mercy's a healer character. And her ultimate used to be to res anybody that was dead around you. It would resurrect them. They'd come back to life. Which is huge. It could swing a team battle one way or another real easily. Well, now they took that ability away. And they gave her, instead, a 30-second cooldown move that reses one person. Which, I mean, is pretty arguably, it's going to eventually... I want to say eventually. It's going to change how you use it. Like, you're going to be able to have that initial push and have one of your teammates die, and then boom, he's right back. Instead of having to wait for your ultimate to charge up.
Right, because the strategy beforehand, and I mean, this was part of the reason why they made the changes to Mercy's character, is if a team was in a bad place, like if they were getting massacred and they had a Mercy on their team, they would literally tell their Mercy to go hide somewhere. So the Mercy would leave the battle, hide until like everyone was dead and until their res was ready to use.
Yep.
And then they would just swoop in at the last second and resurrect everybody.
Yep.
And they just kept repeating that strategy over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. And they also try to feel... The game tries to make every class feel like they can be, kind of a sort of damage class. And with Mercy, she was like the only healer that... her gun was okay, but she was the just healer. She just sat there and healed. That's all she did. She did not shoot. She didn't do anything. Now, with the change they are going to implement, or it looked like they were going to implement, I heard they're reworking it more now. They're actually making her ultimate turn into a Valkyrie form, where she can free fly around the entire map, wherever she wants to go, and her gun has unlimited ammo. She never has to reload, and it hits double as hard and fires double as fast. So they basically turned her into like the top DPS character in the game.
Right, but that Valkyrie move only lasts for what, like a few seconds or so?
I believe it's 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's. That may not sound like a long time,
that could,
but in
a
the actual
player,
input,
a skilled player could wipe an entire team in 10 seconds.
yeah, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, that would be me dying 1,000 times.
Just
I'll tell you
Mercy
what,
putting bullet after bullet right in your head.
First-person shooter-wise, this game is a lot more forgiving than most.
Yeah, I would try it. I really would. Because this is going to be, like, I guess a crime against humanity, but I kind of liked Battleborn. I didn't think it was that
It ain't a
bad.
crime against humanity. I liked that game.
Yeah, Battleborn was a fun game.
It was advertised
despise
improperly.
that game.
It was advertised improperly. The game, I thought the game was, it was a little unbalanced. It needed a little work, but
Yeah.
it was a fun game overall.
I didn't get the hatred of it, but,
I don't get a
Right.
lot of what
And-
goes on the internet.
oh,
Right,
yeah,
and
that's
that
true.
ties back into what we were saying earlier. Just because people say one thing, that doesn't necessarily mean that their opinion is correct or whatnot.
No,
if
but-
you,
well,
if
okay,
you
I'm
enjoy Battleborn, then yeah, go nuts.
The only problem is you can't go nuts with I think there's like 20-something people, active members on Steam, playing the game.
Oh, yeah.
There's
yeah.
like, the community is dead for all intents and
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone is out playing PUBG right now, which just broke, I think, 1 million concurrent Steam users.
Yeah. Yep.
Yesterday, which is insane.
But now they're starting to get a little kickback now because they're starting to take things and put them behind paywalls. They're
Oh, yeah, all the loots and stuff.
yeah, the cosmetics.
Yeah.
Right. Well, hey,
And-
gearing up to get out of early access. Got to monetize
Access
it.
available now. Sorry. It's that actually brings me around to the next game I've been playing, which is Destiny 2,
Oh, nice.
which is funny because they are getting so much crap right now because they apparently I didn't play Destiny 1, so sorry if I get any information wrong. I was just listening to different things today about it. But apparently in the last game, you could find like they're called it's some sort of a dye. It's basically a dye for your clothing. And you can
Right.
find one dye and use it unlimitedly. Like you could just keep using it, keep using it, keep using it, keep using it. Well, now in this game, they made it so once you use it, it has 5 uses. It has enough uses to dye every piece of armor that you have. But once you use those 5 uses, it's gone. And that wouldn't even be a big thing. I mean, that would just be farming them up. The big thing that people got mad about is now you can purchase those dyes for real world money. And
Right.
on top of that, you can't like, oh, I want my armor to be crimson. You can't go into the store and buy crimson dyes. You have to buy a dye pack and hope that crimson is in there. So a lot of people, I'm usually on the fence with the cosmetic stuff, like paying for cosmetics. But when you reel something out for somebody in the first game and then just yank it under their feet in the second one, I can see why people get a little ticked off about it.
Right, especially for a game like Destiny 2, where, I mean, based on everything I've been reading, I mean, I'm just like you. I never played the first Destiny, so, I mean, I'm just dipping my toes into the Destiny waters here. But customizing your fighter's skin is a huge part of the actual Destiny experience. So putting a good chunk of it behind these paywalls is it's really, really crappy.
Yeah, I mean, I come from Blizzard Games who do this crap all the time, but they've never given them away for free. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of how the difference is there, but...
It's weird. The scope is shifting. I mean, I know a lot of people are worried about the new Middle Earth game is having a lot of crap behind paywalls, like a lot more than people would even expect, and it's kind of turning a lot of people off. And, you know, you just kind of hope that this stuff kind of gets reined in somehow, or people start to realize that they are, you know, losing potential buyers because of this stuff. But, you know, if people are buying it,
well,
you know, from a business perspective, they're still going to keep doing it. So,
well, there's an enormous movement in Destiny 2 right now. They're like basically boycotting it. They're telling everybody nobody buy these things. They're doing it the right way. That's how you hurt them. You hurt their wallet.
Yeah,
and that's what
right.
sends the message.
It just, I guess it depends. Like, I hope for their sake that their willpower holds out, because maintaining a boycott like that for an extended period of time, especially for a company like Bungie and Activision, I mean, they've got a huge well of financial resources behind them. I don't know if they would budge based on a boycott like that.
But
very true.
Totally went off a tangent there. Destiny 2, though. Playing
Back
it,
on the rails.
Yeah, playing it is great. I'm having a blast playing it, honestly. It's, for me, it's the more Blizzard games. I'm such a fanboy, it's sad. But it's, if you took World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, and Overwatch and smushed them all together, you pretty much have Destiny.
Yeah.
And for me, that's like, well, World of Warcraft I don't play, but the other two are like my loot grinders are like one of my top genres.
Yeah, but you've played plenty of
shooters.
MMOs. You know.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely
how they work.
Yeah. I like the MMO aspect. I don't like the dedication to MMOs. That's where I lose it. Because I can never invest enough time anymore.
It's hard to do that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, overall good game. And then the StarCraft Remastered I've been playing too.
Oh, okay. So you're a big RTS fan, and so much so that eventually when we have an episode about RTSs, you're going to be on it.
Whether you want to or not.
Yeah, whether you want to or not. Tie you up.
Yeah, edit out his pleas for help, Justin.
No problem. We've gotten really good at that over the episodes.
You people are sick.
All right, but you've played a crap ton of StarCraft growing up.
Yep.
It was, what was it, 15 years between StarCraft and StarCraft 2?
1998 StarCraft came out. 99 was Brood War, probably. That was when the expansion came out.
Oh, okay.
I think. I think.
Regardless.
But it was a very, very long stretch, yes.
You've played a bunch of StarCraft. Then StarCraft 2 came out. You played a whole bunch of that. What is it like going back to playing StarCraft 1, even though with remastered graphics?
It's kind of bittersweet, I guess is a good way to put it. It's Lego Island. It is Lego Island, but not that bad. For those of you who don't know, me and Justin, a little ways back, we booted up an old computer we had in his house, had Windows 98 on it, because we remembered that we played Lego Island, and it was this great game. And everybody listening to this, if you played Lego Island, let it be. Let it die in your memories, as great as it is.
Nostalgia is a powerful thing. Do not disrupt it.
It was garbage. The best thing you can do is throw a pizza. That's it. And, oh, God. Anyway, I mean, StarCraft, it's a little different because StarCraft still has a cult following. The original one still has a cult following today. Still playing it competitively for money. It's just for, I don't know how to, the hardcore people will hate everything I'm about to say, but it controls like complete garbage. Like, when you, first off, your control groups, you can only select 12 guys at a time. When you're controlling an army of like 100 plus units, that is a friggin' nightmare. And you got to have all these control groups mapped out to your keyboard, and it's just, it's annoying. And then the unit pathing is atrocious. You'll send things down a ramp, and since the AI can't quite figure out how to make a single file line down, they all just like funnel in and get clamped, and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 of them will just, screw it, and they'll turn around and start walking the other direction, and just keep going, and they'll walk right into an enemy base or something. It's... That kind of stuff annoys me, but I did not buy it at all to play it online or competitively. I just wanted to replay the campaigns. And man, nostalgia overload, I can tell you that much. I can relive sitting in my chair at home when I was a kid and playing these campaigns and putting the cheats in because I sucked so bad at it. And the cheats still work, by the way. Anybody who's playing it.
It's great. Well,
the same cheat codes work.
It's the same game, just with a higher resolution graphics, right?
Yeah, they didn't touch at any of the mechanics. That's why the unit pathing and all is still junk.
Yeah.
But the hardcore fans of it love that stuff. They think that's part of the gameplay, and hey, if that different strokes for different folks, I guess. I much prefer StarCraft 2.
Well, if you think about it, we've talked about this before, but StarCraft 2 was made with all these quality of life improvements, all the problems that were in the first one. Okay, let's fix these and just make it more acceptable, make the UI, make more sense and easier to navigate. So they're taking all these weird problems that were in the first one and basically correcting them, making things a lot easier for the player. So then when you play a bunch of StarCraft 2, of course you're going to get more...
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh yes, this does make total sense. Things are so much easier. And then you're playing that for a few years, going back to the way it was before, that's got to be tough.
Exactly, yeah. And they said it. This isn't about making a new game. This is about making a callback to that. And they knew what they were doing. They wanted to do it. And like I said, this campaign, I'm really enjoying that. So, I'm willing to sacrifice a couple quality of life improvements. And the graphics really do look sharp. They did a really good job remastering it. And they have the graphic switch button, so you can switch on the fly, which is pretty cool.
It's so great.
And then now there's word that they're going to be remaking Diablo 2 HD, which I would lose it if they did that. Now that was my game.
Now I would pick that up for the fact that when that was out, I did not play games on the PC at all. I completely missed Diablo 2, and that's probably the number one game I feel like that I really missed out on growing up, and to be able to replay that with like high definition graphics would be awesome. Would love to do that.
Oh yeah, and honestly, that game, I played that game not that many years ago, and it still controlled great. I still loved it. And then other than that, I don't think I've been playing anything else really. Nah, not really. Haven't had enough time.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Been playing too many games to play other games.
Yeah, I know, right? It's bastards.
The eternal struggle. Chris, what do you got?
What do I got? Let me see. I briefly dipped my toes into Destiny 2 also. I haven't gotten into any of the multiplayer or MMO parts. I was just playing the single player because, again, I never played the first Destiny, so I kind of want to get myself acquainted to how the game feels, how it controls. And, man, let me tell you, this game... it just feels so good to play. Like, the animations are so smooth. The frame rate is really, really, like, it runs at a great rate. When you pull the trigger of the gun, it makes this great shooting sound. Like, the sound effects are fantastic, and it's just got an overall good feel to play. Like, it just feels fun. And it's rare that I play a first-person shooter that gives me a feel like that. But Destiny 2 definitely feels like a game that I want to be playing even more of. In fact, I'm furious right now because I could be playing Destiny 2,
about
but
to say
no,
that.
I have to record a podcast with you chumps.
I gotta go. Now, the art direction in that game really surprised me.
It's incredible.
Gorgeous.
It's jaw-dropping. Like, it's got such a realistic aesthetic to it where it feels like, yeah, they're actual people, but it definitely looks and feels like it could be set in the future with this alien race invading, these legionaries, which, man, like, I can't talk enough about how fun this game is to play. Like, the strategy is shoot a guy, get up real close to him, and then melee and like stab him in the face and take him out. And it's just, everything is so satisfying. I just can't recommend this game enough from the little bit that I've played so far. Got a bit of a surprise for the both of you and everyone listening right now. I have a Pigman update.
Pigman. Oh, God, no. Pigman!
Yes, that is right. I dusted off my copy of MLB The Show 2017 and decided to carry Pigman forward into his journey into becoming the greatest major league pitcher of all time.
Chris dropping his bacon on the table.
Yes, in a manner of speaking. But yes, so continuing the season with Pigman. I mean, it had been a while since I last controlled Pigman, and to be honest, I kind of wanted to get through a bunch of the season, so I just simulated a lot of it, except for the All-Star game. Pigman actually was named the starting pitcher for the Eastern League West team in the Eastern League All-Star game at the AA level.
Wow.
Which, I mean, yeah, it was great. I got a lot of training points for being named to the All-Star game. And
do you physically play the All-Star game, or is it something that's just kind of like a cutscene?
No, you actually do play the game.
Wow, that's awesome.
They compile the teams, Eastern League West versus Eastern League East, and I mean they've got these divisions for every.
Wait, Eastern League West versus Eastern League East.
Listen, I didn't make up the names, okay?
East by West by North by East.
Exactly. See,
Where
you know
are
the
we
way.
again?
See, you know
Nobody
the way.
knows. Just swing the bat.
But yeah, Pigman, he only threw the first 3 innings, which, I mean, given the allegations of racism levied against the Altoona Curve manager earlier this season, I mean, like, you would think something was up, but in this case, it's acceptable because it's an all-star game. Everybody gets to come in and play. I mean, the game means nothing. It's just a fun little exhibition. So, Pigman, he struck out a couple guys, and I was noticing, like, I don't know if this was an issue with me or with Pigman himself, but the strike zone became a lot more difficult to control for Pigman. And I noticed a lot of his stats over the season were starting to trend downwards, which was concerning because it was indicating that he was starting to pitch worse over
Maybe
the
he
season.
caught swine flu.
Wouldn't that just be regular flu for him?
Maybe he caught
just-
people flu.
Yeah, he caught people.
Oh no, that's lethal to Pig.
Wait.
Do you think he was getting tired because you're playing deeper into the season and like the game is accounting for that?
That's actually an interesting theory. I hadn't really thought of that. It's certainly possible, especially since it's his first full season in professional baseball. So he's kind of getting adjusted to the ropes and everything. Yeah, it's definitely something to consider. I've had a ton of training points allocated towards. Now, at training points, I think I talked about them before, but a quick refresher. In between games, you're in the locker room and you have the opportunity to train, quote unquote train. You don't actually go into a training room or anything. You just have the ability to allocate these points to different stats to raise them up certain levels. So, like, let's say I wanted a faster fastball, and the fastball right now is like 52. I could allocate like 30 points to make it 53, and then like 50 points to make it 54, and so on and so forth. So you can't just like boost these stats like indefinitely. Like, you have to figure out how to balance things out. You can't you can balance out each stat normally, or you could focus in one particular area and just be a god at that one particular item. But Pigman's a lot of his control and like velocity stats were way down, so I tried to bring those back up. And as the season progressed, our team, the Altoona Curve, was actually in playoff contention right down to the very last weekend of the season.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yep. And it was literally a situation where the manager, like, throughout the season, every so often he gives like pep talks trying to like get the team like into it, like, hey, we're doing great, you guys are doing this or that, keep up the good work, blah blah blah. And you get a boost to training points that you can earn during the game, and you get the points based on like if you strike a certain number of guys out, how far you go in a game. You lose points if you give up hits or home runs, etc.
Now, by pep talk, do you mean steroids?
Steroids do not play a factor
training
as far
points?
as we know. As far as we know.
Here, take this, and your training points will go up. You'll be able to throw faster and hit harder.
Inject the training points into what limb you want.
Inject into biceps for hitting.
Yeah, you just see his character model, and it just swells up like different areas of his body.
Time to get swole. Please delete that.
Justin, keep that in.
I'll decide later.
Delete it.
All right. So,
it's not a good joke.
So the manager was giving us these pep talks literally after every single game at the end of the season, because apparently like we were neck and neck like trying to qualify for these playoffs. All right. And then the very last game of the season, we clinched. And
nice.
like Pigman pitched like the fourth to last day of the season. So because he's a starter, he can't go every day. So those last 3 days were up to the other team, and they picked up the slack and actually carried the team into the playoffs.
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh, awesome. So we qualified for the postseason. And everyone was great. The manager gave us a pep talk before the first game, like, hey, listen, we did great getting here. Just focus on one game at a time and just do what we just got to go out there and do what got us here. Justin, okay. I'm going to ask you, how many times did Pigman pitch in the playoffs?
Man, I think I know the answer. I hope it's not true, but 0.
He did not touch the baseball once the entire postseason series, and they lost that series 3-1.
Oh my god.
And they were eliminated from the playoffs. And Pigman did not start a single game.
Oh, that's rough.
Wait, how many people are in the regular rotation? 5?
Yeah, about
4?
that.
Poor porcine bastard.
Yeah, literally doesn't make any sense. Like, it probably is the clearest example of the manager having something against Pigman, that he would literally not pitch his best pitcher, who happens to be a pig and a man in the postseason literally sabotaged his team's chances.
Oh my god.
Man, this is a really realistic game.
Yeah.
All because of this friggin' manager. Oh man, I was livid. So the season ended, and Pigman went into his first offseason a little bit bitter, but hopeful, because he knew he pitched great, and I mean, he was dreading another year with the Double-A manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. But Pigman actually managed to avoid that terrible fate, because the Pirates offered Pigman a contract, a minor league contract, during the offseason. 1 year, $85,000. They offered 1 year, $80,000. I negotiated up to $85,000. And as part of that offer, Pigman would pitch in their Triple-A rotation. So, in the offseason, Pigman got his promotion from the Double-A level to the Triple-A level, which is one level now below the Major League level. Before he was 2, now he's just below the Major League level. So that's awesome. So he is right there. All he has to do is pitch well at the AAA level. His new team is the Indianapolis Indians. And
terrible name.
It's horrible name for a good number of reasons. But he is now at the AAA level, and I played his first game at AAA, and it was a little shaky, but the fourth inning, he gave up a couple of really bad deep base hits that he put himself in a real pickle, like 2 guys on, nobody out, but he was able to pitch himself out of the jam, and to my shock and amazement, he was actually allowed to finish the game and got a complete game shutout.
Wow.
Yeah, ordinarily, Pigman, he only finished the game, I think, with 70 pitches. Even so, by the 7th inning, the Double-A manager would have yanked him immediately and brought in a reliever. But the Triple-A manager actually showed some faith in Pigman's abilities, which
he has a son who was a pig, so he can relate.
Yep, my daughter married a pig, man, so I know what you're going through, son.
This is starting to get a little too real.
So he started his year at AAA now, and we'll see how Pigman's story evolves the next Pigman update.
Yeah, fantastic.
Let me see. I also briefly dipped into Night in the Woods. Yeah, I never got around to beating that, actually, when that first came out, so I'm kind of committing myself now to just sit down and play that game to completion.
Yeah, I want to know what you think. I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome so far. I'm not going to spoil anything, but in terms of where I am in the game, in the game's storyline, I am just past Halloween. So, Justin, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about without giving away any major details about the story.
Okay. Yes, I do.
Yeah. So that's currently where I am, and man, it's just this game nails that small town aesthetic, and feel and tone so perfectly. It's just dead on. The town in Night in the Woods has been depressed because there used to be a coal mining town, similar to something like in western Pennsylvania, where I believe one of the game's writers, Scott Benson, he was from. So he based his experiences off of that. And the coal mine in the town in Night in the Woods has closed down, so everyone is sort of out of work. the town is evolving. It's not the way it used to be when people were younger, and everyone's just kind of trying to come to grips with it. And it's just the writing is really sharp. The characters are really well designed. This just is yet another amazing game in a year that is full to bursting with amazing games.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And then there was the other game I played this week, which I'm not going to get into right now. But
Ooh, I cannot wait.
Something of a dark-colored feline.
yeah, but
Perhaps.
I mean, we would be jumping the gun a little bit. Before we get into that, Justin, what are you playing?
Technically, you're a dark-colored feline in Night in the Woods as well.
It's very true.
Yeah, this is true.
Point to Justin.
I don't want to take up too much time before we get into the indie arcade because I am chomping at the bit to hear Chris's experiences with a certain game. But let's see. I dove back into Stardew Valley this week. So I hopped back into my town, and I played a lot of this game when it came out, to the point where I was almost addicted. Like, I mean, I would start playing and then like kind of blink and then look at the clock and then realize that 3 hours went by and like I didn't even notice it. Like 3 hours real time, not, in the game time.
Right.
And I think I had about 60 hours in the game when I stopped playing. And that equated to I was in my second fall, towards the end of my second fall where I left off, which means I played an entire year and a half of like the actual game. And like most Harvest Moon games, the first year is a little tough. You're kind of like putting everything together. You're not really making a lot of money. You're kind of just making enough money to buy something at the end of the season that can help you eventually make more money. But then the second year is when you start really just like you basically have everything you need and you just start like raking in the dough. And I was at a point where I had so much money, like the farm was almost like self-sufficient, like, and I had so much to do basically to collect my resources that basically an entire day I would just spent like, I would have to water all my plants because I would start growing a ridiculous amount. That would take up half the day and half of my energy just to do that. Then go feed all of my chickens and ducks and get all the eggs and then turn the eggs into mayonnaise. And then do the same thing with all of my goats and cows and grab all the milk and turn the milk into cheese. And then go into my house and I have like grapes that I'm fermenting and turning into wine. And like just gathering all this stuff, honey from a tree. I have a mushroom farm. Like, and by the end of the day, like when I'm done gathering everything, like the day is over already. Like I put so much stuff in my farm that I don't have time for anything really extracurricular. So I'm getting into winter now, and of course in winter you can't grow anything because the weather conditions are too harsh unless you have a greenhouse, which I did buy, so I will be able to grow something there. But I'm looking forward to running into that time where like I can basically take out a big chunk of my day of not having to worry about harvesting plants, and I can spend another time going into the mines and just doing a lot of just searching for different gems and weapons and stuff that are in the mines. And I went over to the mines the other day thinking that I still had a lot more levels to go, because once you go into the caves there's like an elevator and you can sort of like every 5 levels it like keeps track of you hitting that mark. So you can press a button on the elevator like 5, 10, 15, 20 to immediately go to that level. I went to the mine and noticed that I had up to 120, and that was like the very bottom of the mine. Basically, I completely cleared out that entire mine. And I don't even remember doing that. Like, I must have done so much in this game, and like was so zoned out into the game that like I don't even remember exactly how much stuff I did. Like it's so crazy. And I turned it on the other night off of like a whim, right? I was like, yeah, whatever. Let me hop into my town, just check it out, see how everything's going. And it was like a drug addict who was off drugs for a while and just happened to like relapse because all the next day at work, I just couldn't help myself from thinking about how I can't wait to get home and start playing again, and like, oh, I want to go check this other mine that I haven't been to yet, and also I want to clear out my farm, and I think I'm going to buy this new sword from this guy. Like, I had like a whole list of stuff going, and I like caught myself, and I was like, oh my god, like it is so crazy how much of an addictive pull this game has, and you know, it's fun. Like it was cool to hop back in there again and kind of like recapture all that magic again.
Yeah, I bet it's actually funny point. That game is a perfect example as to our starting conversation. I am not a huge fan of the game. I've never really been a huge fan of that type of game, but I still think it's an amazing game. Like, I played it a little bit, and it was very well done. And everything you're saying is true. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, totally. Like, you can appreciate how the game works, like the setting, the music, the gameplay, and still not like it. And still, conversely, if you weren't good at it, you know, it's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. Why would you wouldn't report on that game? You wouldn't give a review of that game. You know, you would give it to somebody else who does appreciate that. Well, again, you appreciate it, but like someone who would enjoy playing that game mm-hmm. because they would play it more and have a more accurate review.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Justin, burning question on everyone's mind right now. Who are you romancing?
I'm not romancing anybody. I already married Leah. Like, I think it was back at the end of the first year. And in fact, we have a baby named Olivia.
Oh, yes. That's adorable. Times, congratulations.
We have a baby. All she does is sleep. Like, I can't even get her out of the crib. Whenever I walk over and talk to her, it just says, Olivia's sleeping, like, no matter what time of the day. And, yeah, you know, it was funny. Because you can give other people in town gifts, and just to be, like, a nice guy, you can just, whatever. If you want someone to like you, even just to get better conversations when you talk to them, you give them a gift. And I went to this one girl, Penny's house, and she was like in her house, like washing dishes. And I had like a grape or something, and I just like gave it to her, and she was like, "Oh, thank you, that's really nice." And then I went home and talked to my wife, and she was like, "So, I heard you gave Penny a gift today." And I was like, "What? Like, how? Who
gave it a D, baby?"
She's like, I'm not going to have to start worrying about you, am I? I was like, how the hell did she even find out about that?
Man, word travels fast.
Yeah. Talk about small town.
Stardew Valley, nothing but a bunch of gossips.
Penny like calls up Leah, like eating the grapes, like, "Hey, Leah, guess what just happened to me?"
Yeah. I thought that was pretty great.
Your man just gave me some grapes.
But yeah, I just, you know, I hopped back into that and still having a lot of fun with it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
man.
no, that's awesome. Yeah, that game deserves all the praise that it gets.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, that's probably it for me this week, which will bring us delightfully into the Indie Arcade.
Indie Arcade.
If you recall, last week I surprised our good buddy Chris with quite possibly the worst rated game on the entire PlayStation 4 system, Life of Black Tiger. Chris, take it away.
Where to begin? Where does one even begin? Justin, Butch, I want you all to know that even just thinking about this game, this is not a joke. I'm not exaggerating. I am literally sick to my stomach. Like, I actually feel a slight nausea thinking about this game.
Honestly, I haven't looked up any screenshots until right this second.
This game, Life of Black Tiger, it started out as a mobile game, all right? It was a mobile game, and then they ported it over to PS4. I'm going to. You know what? I'm going to start with the graphics since Butch, you brought them up. This is a PS4 game. It looks like something that would be borderline PS1, PS2.
These look like the graphics from the old Episode 1 Phantom Menace.
They honestly do. The graphics are extremely muddy. The character models are just really bland, and they're just very uninspired. The sound effects of the games are extremely basic and canned. Like, just let me back up. When you start off the game, all right, you've got the menu screen where you've got like the Black Tiger half hidden in shadow on one side, and you've got the title Life of Black Tiger on the other. And at this
Sounds
point,
great so far.
At this point, one of, I think, three. The game has 3 tracks in its soundtrack. And one of them is the menu screen. And honestly, it sounds almost like the opening music sounds like something that would almost be in Life is Strange. Like, except that it's very, like, it's got kind of that, it's got like that guitar, like, ding, 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 like, it's very, very indie sounding.
Okay.
But it's interspersed at regular intervals with a tiger's roar.
Of course it is.
So I can only imagine it's a tiger singing angstily about his lot in life, about being a black tiger, about being the subject of this utter garbage piece of shit game.
Oh my god.
So you start the game. Now, you are the Black Tiger, and you run around in these very, I can't stress enough, muddy environments that have no detail. You can count the number of pixels on the screen in these environments, and you have to run around. Now, it's a 3D game, right? And it takes place in a 3D environment. Now, Justin, the first game to do 3D really well was Super Mario 64, right? Which came out in 1996.
Yes.
Now, when you spin Mario around, like, how many directions can he face? He can face pretty much any direction, right?
Yeah, close to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Black Tiger faces 8 directions. He has the 8 main directions. He can forward, side, left, right, backwards, or diagonally. This is a 3D game. So when you're trying to run in any one of those directions where it's between any of those major 8 points, Black Tiger literally will, like, he'll stutter between each direction as he's trying to run run in any way. I mentioned the fact that the game only has 3 tracks because as you're actually playing the game, there is no music playing whatsoever.
Well, it only creates a sense of ambiance.
Yeah, Chris, you have to really think outside the box here.
Think like the Black Tiger.
The only sounds of ambiance that this game provided, Butch, was literally whooshing noises as the wind was rushing by. It literally is, as you're running around, all you hear is that's it. That's all you hear as you're running around. You don't hear the tiger's footsteps hitting the ground as he's running, which, another thing, this game has only 2 buttons. All right? You look at a PlayStation 4 controller, it has more than 2 buttons on it. This game only utilizes 2 of those buttons, and one of their 2 buttons is a run button. It's a run button. You can games have figured out, hey, in a 3D environment, you press the stick a little bit, you walk. If you press it a lot, you can run. No, not Life of Black Tiger. They mapped one of their only 2 buttons to run, and let me tell you, you have to hold down that run button. That's you can't just press these buttons. You have to hold them down to use them, because if you don't run, like holding down the run and going in any one direction is the equivalent of like a slug walking down the sidewalk. You move very, very slowly at running speed. Even worse so if you decide, oh, I'm not going to run, and you're just walking. It literally is like a baby crawling for its life from the Black Tiger would successfully get away if the tiger was walking towards him. That's how slow this frickin' tiger is, okay?
So what's the other button? Swipe?
The other button is the attack button. And the attack
button... you can't jump?
Oh, you're giving these guys way too much credit, Justin. Assuming that they would give you the ability to jump in this game.
Simple vertical movement?
No, nothing. You can run up to things, and they will very slowly and gently run away from you. Like, they're just slightly slower than you are at running speed, which is, God, it feels like you're playing this game in mud. Like, with the muddy graphics, it controls like mud. And you run up to these damn animals, which it's got a wide assortment of animals that you can kill and eat in this game. You've got bunny rabbits, you have antelopes, you have elephants, you have giraffes, you have pigs, you have bison, not like buffalo, like water buffalo. No, I mean bison, as in like the North American buffalo.
Wow.
So how does it work?
Rhinos?
Are there levels? Like what? What do you do?
There are individual stages where you are given a mission at the start of each stage, which is this game is originally from Korea, and let me tell you, it shows in the translation of the games. Like, let me give you just an idea. In the beginning, you have this rivalry with these wolves who I guess are invading your part of the forest, and you have, you have so many terrible, stupid missions, like kill these wolves, and then as soon as you do, you get this little green banner that pops up that says mission completed, and you get stats for as well as that helps. And then you move on to the next stage where you're given instructions and you do a thing. One of the missions was literally the wolves are like, they're ganging up to attack you. I have to survive for 3 minutes. Literally, these wolves were so slow, and the arena was so tiny, I literally was just running circles around them for 3 minutes at a very slow pace. Remember, I'm not going fast at all. So I'm just running circles around them, and all I hear is the wind rushing by, just for 3 minutes. And then I successfully completed the mission. All right? That was my experience playing Life of Black Tiger. And the intros are full of such wonderful, wonderful sentences like this. Like one of the fights with the wolves. Quote, "It's full of smell with blood of wolves today, and the smell is stronger than a few days ago. I can't bear with it. Let's kill every wolves found."
Hey,
Who's saying that? Was that what the tiger is thinking?
That's what this is all in the tiger's head. The tiger is thinking these thoughts to himself. There's another one where later in the game, because there's a story to the game, where you eventually come across a female tiger who the Black Tiger refers to constantly as female tiger. And
Clever.
And eventually you go on and you have a baby tiger with female tiger, and that's really the end of the story. So eventually you come across the female tiger as she's helping you. God, I don't even remember. She shows up at some point. to kill Boss Wolf, the boss of the wolves.
Oh, I put that one together on my own.
So eventually, there's literally a mission where female tiger walks and you walk behind her, and that's the end of the mission.
God.
And eventually she settles down and you decide, hey, I like female tiger. I'm going to feed her. So you decide to go hunting for wild pigs. And the mission starts out saying, I'm going to make my female tiger eat meats of wild pigs, as there is a boss among a group of wild pigs. Let's kill the boss and hunt them.
Sounds poetic to me.
So there's literally 10 pigs, 9 very normal-looking pigs, and 1 gigantic boar that is literally bigger than you, who is the boss of these pigs. And at this stage, I'd gotten very far in this game because I'm dedicated to this podcast and I'm willing to go to a lot of lengths to ensure that my gameplay experience is as full and complete as possible for this, okay? I kill the pigs, literally, the little ones, with 1 swipe. Boom, swipe, they literally go flying because they ragdoll physics their way out of there. So then I go up against the giant boss pig. 12 minutes. 12 minutes of my life that I am never going to get back. I literally am running circles around this pig, and I am swiping at him. Now, remember, I have to hold down these buttons to attack. I can't just hit the circle button and he'll attack. No, I have to hold down that button so he'll go through the whole animation of swiping at the boss pig. Then the boss pig will turn and face me, and he'll use his tusks to hit me. And the damage that he does is way more significant than the damage you do to him. All right? So he literally, he'll hit me, and he'll take out, a noticeable chunk of my health. Me, I have to hit him, several times for, 5 minutes before I will see any change in his little health bar. So for 12 minutes, I was running around this arena, killing things and eating them for health. And eating them, Justin, is literally just standing over their corpse as the black tiger automatically just starts eating them. And it makes just this obnoxious sound as he's eating these frickin' animals that he's killed. So eventually I got to a point where, okay, I had made a little over half my health bar remaining, and the boss pig was down to a sliver of his health. So I was like, okay, I'm going to brute force this. I'm just gonna attack him, wail on him, and take him out. Justin, he was down to a pixel of health left, and he still managed to kill me. He had barely any health left. I had over half my health left, and he killed me. After I just said, I'm just going to attack him and just take him out. This was the 4th time I attempted killing this boss pig. It was literally over almost an hour of my life. That, Justin, was the moment where I rage quit this game and said never again.
Well, you lasted a hell of a lot longer than I was.
Oh, God, this game is... And it's just there's no realism to this game whatsoever. At one point, your freaking female tiger who you're suddenly in love with, who is showing you, the ways of nature, she gets hungry for rhinos. So you decide, okay, I'm going to hunt a rhino and bring it to her. Okay, great. Are you going to help me? No? Thanks. So I go, and where are the rhinos? Oh, there's a little green arrow at the top of the screen that's pointing up, but it's not pointing in any one direction. It's literally just pointing up at the top of the screen. And I assume, okay, that's the general direction I need to go for the rhinos. Lo and behold, 20 feet away, there are rhinos. So it says to bring the rhinos to her. So I said, okay. So the rhinos, they won't bother you if you don't bother them. So I just real quick gave them a love tap saying, hey, follow me. So they started angrily chasing me. And Justin, that was part of the clip that you saw that I posted on Twitter where the rhinos were chasing me. And there was a very tiny little hill, like little insignificant hill in the ground. One of the rhinos ran up that tiny little incline and then was running on air at that level as he was chasing me. There were 2 rhinos on the ground and another was swimming through the air, chasing after me. And oh man, there were so many moments of this game where I almost broke, and that was without the wild boar boss. That was the closest I got to actually breaking in the game. I hated every experience, every minute, every second I spent with Life of Black Tiger. I was almost disappointed, Justin, because I was looking it up for this podcast, specifically for this segment. I wanted to look up how the tiger populations were doing, but they've actually rebounded over the past years. So I was like, okay, that's good, but still, I'm very, very bitter about tigers in general now, which is a shame because tigers are one of my favorite animals. I love tigers. Tigers are great. But you know what? You know what the worst part of it all was? The worst part? I could bear with the bad graphics. I could bear with the terrible animations, the lack of music, the inability to run at a rate that would be considered normal. No. I could bear with all of it and laugh happily. Justin, this game was free to play on mobile. It is $9.99 on PS4. I had to spend $10 to play this utter piece of shit game. $10 that I'm never, ever going to see again. Because I had to spend my life with the Life of Black Tiger, which, yeah, I can definitely see. This is one of the worst games I've ever played. It is easily the worst game on the PS4. I don't recommend playing this game. I don't recommend looking at this game. I don't recommend experiencing this game. If you're thinking to yourself, oh, maybe it's funny, I'm sure it is. No. Don't play Life of Black Tiger. Don't look at Life of Black Tiger. Just, if you can, burn the game to a disc and then literally burn that disc in a fire. Which, that's probably more effort than this game deserves.
So
I did not like Life of Black Tiger.
Like
0 out of 10.
I wasn't sure.
0 out of 10 would never play again.
Thank you for clearing that up. Wow.
You're mean.
Are there really black tigers, or is that just like a panther?
I don't.
I
No,
think
a panther and a tiger are two different animals.
They
I
are.
know, but
I don't.
yeah,
think
they're
there's
two
any
different
black tigers.
No, this.
I know there's a white tiger, but I never heard of a black tiger
Yeah,
unless it's
Siberians.
just made for this game.
Yeah, it's a rare coloration, I think, in Siberian tigers, where some of them turn out black. It's just like a genetic thing. But yeah, after playing this game, man, I know poaching is bad in general, but if any poachers out there want to just shoot all the black tigers, yeah, they'd get no complaints from me.
Fair enough.
No, don't shoot any tigers. Not really. I'm just upset about this terrible video game that I was forced to play.
I feel pretty good about that one.
But revenge is a dish best served cold.
All right, so Justin, your game is Room in the Night Sky.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lead up to it. I'm not gonna tease it. There's no jokes, no hyperbole. No, you're playing Room in the Night Sky, and I want you to remember, okay? Earlier this week, I texted you that your game was going to be a mercy this week. And I want you to know that, yes, I am being merciful to you. Because at this point, Vroom, and then like you gave me the worst game available on the PS4. I'm giving you the second worst game available on the Switch. Vroom in the Night Sky is no longer considered the worst game on the Switch.
God.
The current worst game on the Nintendo Switch is this game called Troll and I think it's Troll and Me or Troll and I.
Oh yeah, I've seen
There,
the screen
literal articles have been written that no one, for any reason whatsoever, should play this game. And Justin, I was 100% ready. As soon as I started playing Life of Black Tiger, I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna troll and eye his ass. He is gonna fucking play that game, and he is gonna live to regret it. But I had mercy, Justin, because I looked the game up. All right. Part of the reason this game is so awful is Troll and I is $29.99.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Vroom in the Night Sky, by comparison, is $9.99. So yeah, you gave me a terrible $9.99 game to play. I'm giving you a terrible $9.99 game to play. And I could have gone a lot more expensive with it, but I decided to dial it down because I'm a good person and I am merciful and I am just. And every waking minute you are on that motorcycle as that witch, I want you to think about what you did in putting me in the mindset of a black tiger.
Oh my God! I forgot all about Room in the Night Sky.
It doesn't look that bad. I mean, it doesn't look good by any stretch of the imagination, but
all right, I own this burden.
Yeah, you were blaming me for some unperceived slight last week. Well, this is a very perceived slight this week. Which this is my revenge to you.
Okay,
Have
okay. Fun. I'll play it, and I'll give it plenty of time because you somehow managed to give Life of Black Tiger way more time than it's worth. I think we all need to take a break.
I agree. I need to cool down.
Yeah. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll go into some generic gaming lifestyle questions. Still hate that name.
I hate it too.
Welcome back. It's time for myself to ask my two good friends a bunch of generic gaming lifestyle questions. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, let's see. We've all just grown up with video games, as I said earlier. I mean, ever since we were, I guess, when we were 5 years old, was what, NES time. Actually, yeah, I think 1992 Super Nintendo came out. So we were just turning around that age when Super Nintendo came out. I know all of our first systems was the NES. So we've grown up playing a bunch of stuff from there, and just basically just kind of started from there. And, throughout the past 3 decades, it's always been something we've been doing in the background at night, just on the weekends, having friends over. And, I got a bunch of questions that I always think about, stuff that I've done or how I've done it or in what order I've done things. And I always wonder how other people that play video games do that stuff. So now I can just kind of ask you guys, and we'll just go back and forth and just kind of see what you remember, see what you don't, and see what kind of stuff we might agree on or disagree.
Sounds good to me, man.
Sounds terrible to me, but I'll bear with it.
Still
get out over there, Black Tiger.
Black Tiger.
No, it sounds fun.
Yeah, but got some serious stuff, got some goofy stuff on here. We're gonna have a good time. I will start with the guest, Butch. What was the first game you ever played?
The first game I ever played at all?
If you remember.
This is actually going to be funny because you said that my first system was an NES. It's technically not true.
Oh, yeah?
I had a C64 in the house.
Ooh, nice.
And I had Qbert on it. And I'm almost 100% sure that was the first game I ever actually played.
That's really funny.
Qbert is old school.
Oh, yeah, and this was bad graphics Qbert before the actual nice pixelation and all.
Do you know I love Qbert, the drawing of Qbert and the guys, and I'm very familiar with the game, but whenever I played it, I never figured out how the hell to play that game, and I took one step off of a cube and died, and that was as far as I ever got.
Oh yeah, I could not replicate it to this day. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing if I played it. I mean, I had no idea back then. I just kind of guessed.
Yeah, drop to your death and let out, one of those little squiggle curse words. Yep. Son of a bitch. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the Commodore 64 could definitely do that.
Yeah, honestly, the most fun I had with that system was learning code, learning BASIC. Just little bits of it, nothing. I mean, I didn't learn how to program anything or anything like that. But being able to change the screen color, make a pixelated image in the corner of the screen, stupid little stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Chris, your first game.
Let me see. That's earliest game I can remember playing is Super Mario Brothers. And this was on the cartridge where it was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt on the one cartridge. Mm-hmm. So we would always we could flip back and forth between each version. And man, that Duck Hunt was fun because you got the little Nintendo zapper that you could literally shoot the screen with. I remember I never used the controller the way it was intended. I would always put it directly up to the screen. Hold it right up to the screen, and once a duck passed right in front of it, I would just pull the trigger and boom, blast him right out of the sky.
Did you have the gray zapper or the orange zapper?
Orange.
Really?
Me too.
Yep. I had the gray one.
Yeah.
You had the gray?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Yeah, I got one of the those nice orange zappers. But yeah, earliest game I remember playing is we always had Super Mario Brothers in the house. Especially when I was a little kid, I remember that was the hardest game in the entire world. I could get pretty far, but I was never able to beat the game, not until years and years later. But yeah, Super Mario Brothers. We had the original Legend of Zelda. We had this game called Time Lord, where you could go back in time to different eras throughout history, and you had to collect these orbs. Mickey's Mouse Capades.
Bunch of good stuff. It's funny that you say that because it actually leads into my next question. Butch, what was the first game you ever beat?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly,
It is a good question.
by the time I had the concentration to actually play a game to completion, I'm pretty sure it was Super Mario World.
Okay.
Because honestly, with games then, I would lose interest. Like, oh yeah, that's fun. Next game.
Yeah, I did that up until I was about, I don't know, 22.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Super Mario World.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I think
I mean,
it
you're
is.
old enough at that point to actually understand how a game works and understand that there's an end goal. And, it's one of the greatest games ever made,
Well,
so
yeah,
of course
definitely.
you're going to, play it through to the
I'm
end.
just trying to think if there was any NES games that I played that way. I don't think there were.
The earliest game I can remember beating, I certainly didn't beat anything on the NES, although me and my brother, we would hit milestones in the NES games, and we would consider the games beaten. Like The Legend of Zelda, we would beat the first dungeon, and we would say, all right, we won. That's the end of the game.
Good enough.
Yep, good enough for us.
That may
But
fly for Zelda 2.
I still haven't
Zelda
beat
2.
that fucking game.
I haven't either, man. That is a monster. But the earliest game I can remember beating is game came out on the Sega Game Gear. It was the handheld answer to Nintendo's Game Boy, and it was Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble. Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble. It's kind of funny. If you I've looked up recent information about the game, and apparently consensus opinion is that the game is a little too easy, and it's just not really challenging. It's not held up in high esteem in terms of Sonic the Hedgehog games.
Yeah, but does
but
that stuff count when you're a kid? I don't think so.
it's right then. That's what I'm saying. Is back when I was a kid, I played this game so many times. I played it over and over again. Getting the Chaos Emerald, work it. I would literally replay levels if I couldn't get the 50 rings you needed to open up the Chaos Emerald box to get into the Chaos Emerald zone. And man, I just remember having the time of my life playing that game, and I remember actually beating it. And there were the bad endings, and then there was the actual good ending. But at that point in my life, I was just thrilled to death that I actually beat the game. I didn't care about whether or not a game had the good or bad ending. I was just like, yes, I just had this awesome adventure with Sonic the Hedgehog, and I won. I beat the game. And it was, man, that is such a wonderful feeling.
Okay. Good answer.
How about you? You're not getting away with not answering this question.
Jeez. That's a tough one. I'm pretty confident it was also Super Mario World because I played it co-op with my brother, and I guess he was the one that killed Bowser, so I guess technically he beat the game, but we did it together. But if you don't want to count that,
His victory is your victory.
well, I'll say Goof Troop for the Super Nintendo, which is one of my most underrated favorite games of all time. I absolutely love that game. I distinctly remember playing that game again with my brother co-op, and we were on the final boss, and Nick died, and it was just me left. And I remember freaking out, like, what do I do? Oh my god, what do I do? And Nick was like, just calm down, like, you got it. Just pick up a pot and throw it at him and keep running. And I was Max, who was a lot faster, and I was able to... Oh no, I was Goofy, who was stronger, and Nick was Max, who was faster. And Goofy does twice as much damage, and I remember just kind of avoiding attacks, getting in position, throwing a couple pots, and beating the final boss. And Nick was freaking out, and I was freaking out, and we beat the game. And man, that was one of my favorite gaming memories of beating Goof Troop for Super Nintendo. And yeah, oh man, so long ago. Wow.
Yeah, man. Memories are flooding back.
Okay. This is the last first game question I have, but what was the first game you ever bought with your own money?
That's a good one.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, and I definitely did not buy any Super Nintendo game with my own money. I think I was too young. So I think the first game I ever bought with my own money was Chameleon Twist for the Nintendo 64.
Great game.
I love me some platformers, and I think I rented that game and played it for a couple days, and I was like, wow, this is just so much fun. I have to get this right now. And my mom took me to the store, and I think I had birthday money or something, and I picked it up. And that was my earliest memory of a game. And that was back when, like, Toys R Us used to have those giant, like, yellow price tag things, and you would just take the slip and then bring it to the counter, and then they would go get the game. Do you remember those? Yeah. I have mega nostalgia for those things.
Yeah, I think the earliest game I may have bought, honestly, was maybe one of the Madden games for like the I think it was, what was it, PS2, I believe. Yeah, I think it was during the PS2 era. It was one of the Madden games that came out during that time. Again, it was birthday money, and I was taken to the store, and I was at that point where I was much more of a casual gamer than I consider myself to be nowadays. And so I saw Madden, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna scoop that right up." And I mean, like, again, like, I talk about being a casual gamer, but still, like, played Madden, and I remember having a ton of fun with that game. So I mean, as long as like you play the game and you enjoy it, that's really what it's all about.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's just funny that of all the games that could have been my first that I bought, it happened to be a Madden NFL game.
Butch, any idea?
I'm pretty sure, and this will tell you how much different times were. Well, then again, I'm sure my mom probably bought it for me. I just gave her the money. I'm pretty sure that Turok Dinosaur Hunter was the first game I ever bought with my own money.
Nice.
Wow, that's man, that's a good one.
Yeah, the fact that a kid could walk in and get that, but
technically your mom bought it.
I think she did. I'm almost positive she had to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I freaking loved that game. I cheated my ass off in that game. I've never beaten that game without cheating.
In fact, not too long ago, we were over your mom's house, and we hooked up your 64, and we popped in.
Oh, that's
Turok.
right.
And remember, you had all the cheats unlocked, and you went to the final like robot T-Rex fight at the end, but you had like all the guns unlocked and everything. And you had the one gun that like you only get at the end of the game that only has one bullet or
the
something. The
Chronoscepter.
Like yeah. That was so crazy.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the first one I ever bought though.
That's a great pick. Let's move on to getting angry with this next question. Have you ever broken something from getting so angry while playing a game? This could be anything from like a controller to a keyboard, or even just like, I don't know, throwing a glass or like punching the wall, or just getting so angry that you've damaged something.
I have broken multiple Mad Catz controllers. But that's because I consider them expendable.
Yeah.
If you're going to break anything.
Yeah, I mean, I broke them because they were practically broken already. So they weren't registering button pushes and shit, so I would just crack them in half and throw them.
Do you remember what you were playing that made you so angry?
Honestly, no.
There's a lot of stuff that could...
I was going to say, just about any single-player game.
Yeah.
I do remember I put a hole in my wall with my foot by accident. Really was by accident when I was playing Donkey Kong 64. There's a lot of horrible memories tied to this game. And I was literally laying on my bed, And I'll never forget because my parents fucking, oh my God, they were so mad at me.
Man,
And I'm just sitting there.
Jesus, Butch, what the hell?
And I didn't even mean to hurt you.
64.
I wasn't even in like a part that was pissing me off. I was just like, I just waved my foot around to try to like go from laying down to sitting up.
Yeah.
And I just wailed the wall and my heel went right through the wall. I was like, oh my God. I've had that happen.
Parents just like running. What happened? And they just see you with your foot in the wall.
Yeah, just like it's
DK rap in the
exactly what it
background.
looks like. And I remember playing Call of Duty and like getting mad, and I like not bounced on the bed, but I like you like shove your body weight down real quick, like flustered.
Right, yeah.
Well, the right side of my bed broke, and I rolled into the wall and got stuck there. I couldn't move. Yeah. And I probably could have moved, but I was too busy dying laughing to try to help myself.
That is pretty great.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much the extent of it.
Let's see. For me, I don't think I ever actually broke, like, I've never actually gotten so mad that, like, I've broken a controller. I've definitely thrown controllers in anger, but I've always had the presence of mind to make sure I was throwing it at something soft, like a couch cushion or like pillows or something. There was like, I think the closest I got was I was playing Super Mario Galaxy, the first one or the second one? I think it was the first one. And it was one of the Comet challenges where
Oh God, I hated those.
where Mario had to he had to collect the purple coins, but he had his little clone Ghost chasing after him. And if you touch your Ghost, then you automatically lose the level, and you have to start it all over again. I must have, and I forget exactly what level it was, but the coins were designed in such a way where it was almost impossible to not hit this ghost while you were collecting all the purple coins. And I must have died like 30 times in a row. And I remember I just lost my mind after like the 30th time I died. And this game was on the Wii. And I literally just like wound up and threw my controller down on the ground like as hard as I could, and the controller itself didn't break, but the battery case on the back like popped off, and the AA batteries just went flying all over the place. So yeah, that was I mean, that's the closest that I've come. And I remember I took a week off from that game after that moment, and my first attempt I beat that level no problem.
Yeah. And you also punched me in the nuts after I beat you in Wii Baseball.
Yep. I
When
remember
are
that.
you ever gonna let that go?
It was hilarious,
Never
but
will I
it was horrible, but it was hilarious.
Oh,
Oh, and this brings up a good time. So, one of the first shows you ever had on here. You got a printer retraction. Remember when you said I threw the pencil at you and you came at me?
Yes.
I did not throw that pencil. Michael Ralston
right.
threw that pencil.
Ralston.
I was just
Ralston.
laughing. And you assumed.
All right. Well, I apologize.
Damn
for
right you
assuming.
do.
Yes, I'm sorry. Mea culpa. I mean, in fairness, what actual damage did I do to you?
None. More psychological than anything.
It's keeping you up at nights like all these
Cold
years.
sweat. Why? Why did he do it?
Why did he attack me? It's probably the same way an elephant gets upset that a gnat attacked him.
I never broke anything of my own from anger, but I do have a great story of when my brother and I were really young. We were playing Super Mario Brothers 3, and if you recall in the world map, if you're playing co-op and the second player lands on the same spot as the first player can press start, and then you go into the classic Mario Bros. Side-scrolling screen where, the crabs are coming out of the pipes and everything, and then you battle. And if the first player beats the second player, even if it's the second player's turn, it becomes the first player's turn, and they get to go again. Well, my older brother, of course, was abusing that to no end, and every single time it was my turn, he would do that, we would battle, he would beat me, and he would go again. And of course we were fighting, and my mom was in the other room, and she said, "You guys better knock that off. I'm going to come in there, and I'm going to rip that system out of the wall." And of course we didn't listen because we were like 5 and 6 or whatever, and we're still just being complete jerks, and Nick's still doing this to me, and I'm still screaming. And then all of a sudden we hear like these heavy footsteps, and my mom bursts the door open, comes in, puts one hand on each side of the NES, and literally rips the damn thing out of the wall. The TV goes black. We're screaming. She like just drags it out of the room, and we never saw that NES again until like maybe like 10 or 15 years later, where me and Bill were in my garage, and we like found the box, and it was in there. And it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, and I'll never forget it.
That is one of my favorite stories ever.
That is great.
I think shortly after that, we got the Super Nintendo, so it wasn't like that big a deal, but I mean, yeah. My mom is a woman of her word.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, she is.
She warned
but you can't help but love her.
Let's see. All right, here's a fun one. Did you ever stay up all night playing a game? And if so, what game was it?
Well, in all fairness, we all have.
Yes, we have. I knew
Playing
this would come up.
Dokapon Kingdom.
Dokapon Kingdom,
what did we play, for
baby.
14 hours straight one night?
I think so.
I don't know how we managed it.
I can't believe that we managed to still be friends after it. That game destroys friendships.
That game is a
absolutely
friendship destroyer, and every single time we played that game, every single time it was a different configuration of friends.
Yep.
So we needed to start a new save file to accommodate for whatever friends were currently playing Dokapon Kingdom at that time.
Yep.
Right, we did have a bunch of different save files, but none compared to that very first time we played that game, and it was incredible. Like, I'd never seen anything like that. We were so engrossed. We all we weren't even getting tired. We were having so much fun. We had so much energy that we didn't want to stop playing. And like literally, the sun came up, and I think we took a break to eat breakfast or something, and that's when we all started getting tired. Like when we finally stopped playing the game. But I think we all slept for a couple hours, and then we just started playing again anyway.
Was that the night after my amp exploded?
That was a different
time, right? Okay,
yeah. Another save configuration.
Yeah, right.
But oh my god,
Yeah.
man.
And the summer of Dokapon, is a summer you'll never forget.
But do you guys have any other examples possibly?
When I was younger, 8th, 9th grade, I used to stay up all the time and play Diablo all into the night, Warcraft 3. But I mean, other than that, believe it or not, with Rob Spackman, our buddy Rob,
Yeah.
me and him, we used to I'd sleep over his house and we'd stay up all friggin' night and play Gauntlet Legends all night.
Nice.
Food is good.
And that's about the craziest I've ever done.
Let me see. I think I remember back in college, a lot of sleepless nights invested in Fallout 3.
Oh, that's a good one.
Worthwhile game.
I mean, that's a game where you just pick it up, you start going, and then you look outside, and all of a sudden it's 4 a.m, and you're like, what happened to the day? It's not even 4 a.m. The next day. It's 4 a.m. 2 days later.
Yeah.
That game is just it was so addicting, and it was just so much fun, and there was so much to do. I put hours and hours and hours into that game, and I didn't even come close to doing everything there is to do in that game.
Let's see. Next would be... This is an interesting one. Did your parents ever play video games with you, or did they ever play a game by themselves?
By himself, I don't think my dad ever did. But me and him played games a good bit when I was really young, when it was the NES. And we used to play Double Dragon together, Contra, and I used to watch him play a really obscure NES game that I just happened upon like a year and a half ago. I saw it at a Games Done Quick being ran. Mm-hmm. It's called Rygar.
Oh, Rygar.
For the NES. Yeah. I was, for the life of me, I could never remember what the hell it was. I was like, what the hell was that game with the little disc thingy on your arm? I was like, what the hell was it? For years, I couldn't find it, and I saw it. I was like, oh, that's it! And the theme music.
They made a sequel to that for like the PS2 or something weird.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's funny. I actually had this question on here because I remember you telling me that story about you and your dad playing Contra, and it's such like a great story. Like, I just love picturing that, and like, what a pleasant thing to like remember.
He hated games after that, but.
Well, yeah, because Contra sucked. It's so hard.
Hey. We beat that game.
That's incredible. Without cheat codes?
No, not without cheat codes.
Yeah.
We're not super.
That is still
Konami code.
Yep.
Impressive.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's about it. That's about what we played. After that, though, he just stopped giving a crap about video games.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna expand on this, but I mean, the short answer for me is just a solid all around no. On this, like, just no. Never touched a controller. Never played any games. Like, that's not entirely true. Before I came on the scene, I think my parents would play like Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man in arcades. Yeah. But once I came on the scene, they never really did anything in terms of gaming.
So what you're saying is that you ruined their video game experience.
Yep, you killed it.
I suppose me and my brothers must have.
No. But, just you.
But yeah, no. Yeah, my parents, they're the types who, like, they'll play, like, they'll buy you the games so you'll play them when you're younger. But then there were a lot of times as I was getting older where I was getting the lecture about needing to stop playing video games. Video games are for children. When are you going to grow up, etc., etc.
Oh, yeah, I got those too.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all.
I think everyone's gotten that lecture.
And then I showed them Laser Shoot Larry. But look, you can do naughty things.
And that's how I lost computer privileges for a week.
Hey, come on, I want it back.
Yeah, I mean, this question's always interesting to me because it's always different. A lot of people's parents actually play a lot of games. My one friend from college, Patrick, his parents, they play a lot of RPGs like Final Fantasy and stuff, and they really like legitimately enjoy them. And if they get stuck, they'll have Patrick come and like he'll play it and like help them get past the hard part, and then they'll go back to playing again. And it's funny now because they were 30 when I guess video games were 1985. Like things were starting to like pick up for the video game world. We're getting out of the arcade cabinets and more of the in-home kind of consoles, and it's interesting to me to see what type of people would continue to play them and find interest in them, and I guess other people that just kind of thought, this is like that's for kids. Like I'm not really into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think about how that's going to be today with a lot of the new stuff like VR or just some of the new systems, a lot of computer games. Like this sound, the scope of the video game world is constantly changing. And will we evolve with it, or will we eventually kind of just stick in our retro systems that we grew up with and only play them? It's an interesting scope to look at. But specifically, my parents. So I remember when my brother and my sister and I would be playing games. I remember my mom, if she was watching us, would always say something like, "How are you doing this?" or "How do you know where to go?" or "How do you know what to do? I can't even make Mario jump. Like I don't get this." And she would always say that sort of thing, so I would just assume that like, okay, like I'm not even gonna really bother explaining it because she just doesn't get it, and video games aren't her thing. And then so there's two specific examples I remember. The first was, I think it was Mario Party 1 for the 64. We had 4 controllers, and I think it was me and my sister and my brother were playing, and we just kind of like gave my mom a controller, and she just started playing with us. And I remember she was like legitimately like having a good time, and it was so cool to see that. It was like, yeah, I'm like relating with my parents on like a certain thing that I think is really cool that I'm growing up with, and like, here we are playing a game together. That's great. And then another time we played where my dad was playing too. So it was me, my brother, my mom, my dad all playing Mario Party. And of course, my dad was so bad. He was Donkey Kong, and he like every mini game that we played, he like walked off the side of the screen and died. And we're all laughing about that too. And like, it was just like this family like bonding thing that I would never expect would happen through a video game, and it was so cool to see that. And then the other example would be Animal Crossing for the GameCube, where this was a game that I was following for a long time. I really wanted it. It was one of the first games that I bought with my own money, and it was the first, I guess, sim type of game where the game actually works in real time. If you're playing at 3:02 in the morning, in real life, it's 3:02 in the morning in the game. And my mom would watch us play that a lot. And I think one day my sister was playing, and she gave my mom the controller and was like, "Yeah, try it out. Do this, do that." And like, my sister was kind of coaching my mom through what to do. And it was like my mom just tried acid for the first time or something. Like she got hooked on this game, and she would be playing so much that we'd have to like ask her if we could play, because. But most of the time, we were just enjoying watching her play, because again, like it just kind of felt so surreal that my mother is playing this video game, something that she's yelled at me before that I'm doing too much of, like to go do your homework, And then it started getting out of hand to the point where she was late for work because she was playing Animal Crossing so much. And she was so good at the game. Like, in how Animal Crossing works, the first person to pay off your loan in the game, you get a gold statue, like, of your character. And I remember turning on the game and, like, walking to the area where the statues were and seeing a statue of my mom's character, the gold statue. And I was like, what the hell? She made so much money that she was actually like being a mom in the game, where I would like open the door to my house and there was just bags of money on the ground with a note that said "from mom," and it was like $100,000. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Just literally giving money away.
Oh god.
Oh man, yeah. It was just so funny and weird and cool to see that. That's like one of my favorite memories.
No, that's so awesome.
All right, let's move on to this next question of, have you ever stayed home from work or school for the sole purpose to play a game?
Yes.
I have to.
I just did it with Breath of the Wild.
Me too.
Moving on.
Yeah, honestly, man, I don't know. Like, I don't really remember any instances where I would like cut school or work or anything like that just to play a game.
How about this? Did you ever skip a class in college to play a game?
Oh, yeah, Fallout 3.
Nope, he was too busy with that
counts.
pesky meth habit.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? The game was too good.
And Breath of the Wild. I stayed home when we all did the overnight pickup for the Switch and Breath of the Wild, and I stayed home. It wasn't like I just called out or anything. Like
I scheduled a vacation day.
Yeah, exactly.
I specifically did it about a week and a half ahead of time.
Yeah, I told everybody, like, look, I'm not going to be here this day. I didn't say why I wasn't going to be here that day. But I remember finally playing it, and then, like, a couple hours in, I started to get a headache, and I got, like, one of the worst migraines of my life, and I had to stop playing, and I was just, like, lying in bed with, like, the lights off for, like, hours, and I was like, this is so unfair. Like, I took off to play this game today, and I can't even play it. I was so angry. Let's see. Okay, this question, I think about this all the time, and this kind of relates to Butch putting his foot through the wall, but when you're playing a game, what is your preferred seating arrangement? And by that, I mean, like, what position do you like to sit in or lay in, like, the most when you play a game? Like, do you lay on your bed, or do you sit in a chair, or do you sit on the ground? Like, what is your most comfortable position when you're playing a console game? Because obviously a PC, you gotta sit at the desk, but when you're playing a console game,
always laying down. It makes me feel comfortable and relaxed, and I can just
on your stomach or on your back.
No, on my stomach.
Okay.
And usually, like, my TV is usually at the foot of my bed. Or, like, if it's out in, like, living room, I'll do anything to keep my head as close to the screen as I possibly can.
See,
doesn't your back hurt when you do that, though?
No, not really.
Yeah, for me, like, after a little while, my back starts to hurt.
I get a pretty bendy body, though, so...
Yeah, I can't lay on my stomach while playing games because, yeah, I'm like you, Justin. My spine will just start, like, screaming in agony. Like, the bones will actually literally start screaming at me, and it freaks me out, and I gotta stop. But I lie down, not on my stomach or on my back, but on my side. So
how the
if I'm
hell
like,
do you do that?
So, like, if I'm playing a game, like, on the couch or whatever, I just hold the controller and I literally just sprawl across the entire couch.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, laying down on my side. If I'm laying down on my bed, I will sprawl across, like, the foot of the bed.
Your arm doesn't
and
go
play a
numb
game like
from
that.
laying on it like that, like your elbow?
Occasionally, but that helps me. It helps me, like, take breaks occasionally because, like, once my arm, like, starts, like, feeling numb, I'll pause the game, and that gives me a good opportunity to, like, grab a drink or a snack or something and just not be so focused on playing the game itself where I get lost forever and ever. Because, I mean, that's all fun and fine and good, but eventually, like, you have to be able to take care of yourself. You can't, you just can't get lost in a game like that for hours and hours on end. It's not good for you.
The hell I can.
And the one exception, though, is, like, if I'm playing the game and I get this part where it's really hard and I need to concentrate, at that point I will sit up and I'll be sitting up, but I'll be leaning in towards the screen, eyes burrowed, and just completely focused on the screen. Like, I'll literally adjust my entire seating position so that I can press the buttons better. I mean, I don't know why I do it, but it's.
I would laugh hard, but I do the same exact thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody does. You get that intense moment. It's like, all right, I got to sit up, do this properly.
Got to sit up, got to focus, and I mean, ultimately the inputs are exactly the same. Like, you could do the same thing while lying down. It's just something about sitting up and, like, leaning, staring at the screen and being like, all right, I gotta focus on doing this. It just
It's like when you're driving and you're looking for a certain address and you turn the radio down.
Yeah, like
Right.
I'm looking for this
Yeah.
road. Turn the radio down. I can be able to see better.
Yeah, same thing when I'm driving. I get up from laying down on my side when I'm steering the wheel.
I mentioned
if
I'm on
it's
my
heavy
8th
traffic.
car.
Yeah, man, everyone around me is such terrible drivers. They just keep hitting me. I don't know what the problem is.
Do you eat food while you play a game?
I try not to, because I don't want to get like schmutz all over my controller.
Yeah.
And like on my keyboard and whatnot. So
Yeah.
and
I don't like eating anything that like leaves like a dust on your
Yeah,
finger,
like a
like a
stain.
flavored barbecue chip or something like that. If it's like a pretzel or something where it doesn't really leave a mess, that's fine.
usually.
But even then, like, it's just distracting to like keep taking your hands off the controller and like grab a bite of something.
Yeah.
So I'll normally just like eat it all pretty quickly and then just go back to playing.
Yeah, I'll just take a break and eat.
Yeah, I don't. I try not to eat anything either for
At all.
the reasons you've all outlined.
Okay. All right. Last question. If you could go back in time to one system generation and live through all of it again, what one would you pick and why?
Ooh, one system generation.
I have a clear answer for this.
I do too.
And the answer for me is the Super Nintendo generation. Mostly because, as we've established previously on this podcast, my gaming history is a little wonky, and I actually missed out on the entire SNES generation. Like, I didn't have a Super Nintendo, I didn't have a Genesis, so, I mean, it's very like frustrating for me because everyone talks about, oh, you know, I have all these fond memories of playing, Super Mario World or Super Metroid, way back in the day, et cetera, but I never had those memories. I just simply never had the system. So I would like to go back in time, and I'd like to experience what it was like to have that system, to play through those games for the very first time with younger eyes and newer experiences, and just kind of live through the nostalgia that everyone else likes to talk about.
Yeah, that's a great answer, and it's also my answer. I would also pick the Super Nintendo generation. Different reasons. I think, well, one, I never owned a Sega Genesis, and I feel like I missed out on a lot of games that way.
Altered
Even
Beast.
the Game Gear. Like, I remember playing it at my dentist office because he had one. And I just remember thinking, like, how cool this thing was, and that I would just never have one, and, like, I was okay with that, but, mainly now, like, so, I guess I didn't make this clear enough in the question, but, like, you're going back to that system, like, you're not, like, going back to the age you were during that system, you're going to be the same age that you are now, basically, but everything's still coming out, like, new, and knowing that, I would pick up so many Super Nintendo games that are like super rare now that like I've totally missed out, like Earthbound or like ActRaiser.
Right.
It's like a bunch of different games that, like, I remember seeing them as a kid. Like I remember renting them, and like they were there at a Toys R Us for like $60, which compared to now is like nothing. And it's so crazy to think that like I had opportunities to get these games and just stuff that I wouldn't appreciate back then. But like now, oh man, I still think that system probably has like the best library. I mean, just so much happened in those years of gaming. Like it's definitely one that I wish I was older enough to appreciate. Like I still loved it, being a kid, but if I was in that era now, like I think I'd just be like in my glory days.
Yeah, knowing the parameters of the question now, my answer is still the same. Just because, again, like you said, there are just so many wonderful, amazing games on the SNES. I mean, it's one of the best consoles of all time in terms of how many just all-time classic games were released for that system. And I just love the opportunity to go back and be able to pick up those games when they were fresh and living through them for the first time.
I think mine would have to be the N64 generation.
Not bad.
I could be looking at this through nostalgia goggles again, but I just remember losing my shiz when I friggin' woke up on Christmas morning and I had an N64.
Yeah.
And
I
that
Little known
Mario
fact,
64.
that video of that kid freaking out about having
Yeah,
the
right, it's me.
N64 was actually Butch.
Oh, God. Honestly, my reaction was probably around the same. But I don't know, just between that and I feel like I could respect the games more now, like Ocarina of Time, and Mario,
honestly,
and
I mean, we loved Ocarina of Time as kids, but to play that like now at our age
for a first time too. I mean,
that must be incredible.
Yeah.
And just I had an enormous N64 game collection. Like not every game you can think of, obviously, because there was a ton of them.
Chameleon Twist 1 and 2.
Yep, there you go. Chameleon Twist 1 and 2. Mischief Makers.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Rampage. What else? Gauntlet Legends. That was another one that Gauntlet Legends was on.
Tonic Trouble.
I don't think I
Glover.
ever owned either of those.
Because they're too terrible.
Yeah. I don't think whatchamacallit? Star Wars. The what the hell was it called?
Rogue Squadron?
No, not Rogue Squadron. The other one.
The
Shadows.
Pod Racer? Shadows of the Empire.
There you go. Shadows of the Empire. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Wampa Stompa.
Yep. Yeah, and just all those games, and God, they were so friggin' good. And just to see like the 3D graphics rendered for the first time like that, I don't know. I think it would be pretty cool.
That's a great answer, and it might shock you because I was shocked when I heard this stat or whatever. But if you actually look at the number of released games for the Nintendo 64, it's like abysmally low. It is
Is it really?
Incredibly, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's only like 130 or something like that. It is a very, very, very low number, especially compared to like PlayStation and like Sega Dreamcast, like around the same time.
I guess that's another thing from being a kid.
Or
then.
CD.
I just had no concept of that.
You know, it's like that was right at the time when a lot of the third-party developers were leaving for Sony, and just basically wanted to put their games on discs instead of cartridges, and there was a lot of other like factors that went into it. But yeah, like it's crazy. I didn't even think of how small of a number it was. Goldman.
Yeah, there you go. Both of them. Yep, 1 and 2. Yeah. GoldenEye,
of course. Perfect
Dark, amazing. Donkey Kong 64, which I apparently have very horrible memories of.
Blast Corps.
That
was a great game.
What the hell was the one I had?
I remember Mission Impossible for the 64.
Oh,
was
great
really
game.
Good.
Yeah, I had that.
Tetrasphere.
That was a really underrated game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one space one. Well, space. It was like.
Did you ever play Star Wars Pod Racer?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a great game.
That was like a really, really like in depth.
Mm-hmm.
That was 64, right?
Yes.
That wasn't GameCube.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was too. There was an F-Zero game for 64.
Yes, there was.
I didn't even know there was until like recently.
Yeah, it was pretty good too.
I never had that one. Yeah. Majora's Mask. Like I mean,
yeah,
it was a small library, but it was a great library.
Mm-hmm. And again, nostalgia goggles, but still.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of torn between that and GameCube, honestly.
Well, we are at the 2 hour and 34-minute mark. I think it's probably a good time to wrap this up.
I'm falling asleep at the microphone.
Yeah, we're
Take these chains
hard to believe
off
we're
me.
only Hard to believe we're only halfway through the questions.
Question number 12.
No, but in all seriousness, these were fun questions. They were really good questions. It was nice to kind of dive back into the memory banks a little bit and reminisce a little about our individual gaming histories.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff that I always think about, and I always wonder what other people who grew up playing video games think about as well. And Butch, man, I'm glad you were here to go through these questions with us, and it's always great to have you on the show.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me, man. I always enjoy it.
Yep, always a pleasure, Butch. You are always more than welcome.
Oh, I'll be here every week for the night.
Don't do that. You're not that welcome.
Guys, are we recording again?
I told you this would happen. I told you this would happen if we had a
Don't you have Cubert to go play?
Come on, guys, let me in.
All right, that's going to do it.
Yeah, well, that about wraps it up for this week. Remember, Press A repeatedly posts new episodes at iTunes, Google Play, and on Podbean. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review the show, or tell your friends about us. It helps other people find the podcast and will really help us grow. And thank you to all who have rated, reviewed, and subscribed so far. We love you.
You can follow us on our Facebook page and on Instagram at Press A Repeatedly. We're also on Twitter at Press A Repeatedly. I'm at cgold113. Justin is at oaf7724. You can email us any questions or comments at parpodcast@gmail.com. What are some of your personal gaming histories? Let us know. That's going to do it for this episode. Chris, Justin, and Butch signing off. And remember, to fire a burst of deadly ammo into that wretched legionary's face, press A repeatedly.
All right, let's wrap it up. Press A repeatedly post new episodes every fucking week.
Every fucking week with the show.